Alright guys, welcome back to the channel and to the garden. Today's video is something slightly different. Just going to have a look at tropical plants that you may or may not have known are edible in some form. Now of course, just to say before we jump into this, certainly do not eat anything from your garden unless you've consulted an expert or done your research first. But with that said, let's jump straight into it. As we go through this, I'm going to look to put some information up on the screen regarding the plants and some of the culinary uses here. The first plant we'll be taking a look at today is your yucca, different yucca varieties you can see right here. Now with these, the flower stalk can be eaten as well as the flowers and stem as well. Now these all do need to be prepared, but these are typically eaten as a staple food in some of the South American regions here, including this yucca here as well. Now there are various varieties as mentioned, but once again, generally these would be edible plants here. So here we have our Dicksonia antarctica tree fern. Now as you can see, this one is wrapped up in its winter protection at present as we are in the middle of winter. But these are also surprisingly an edible plant. So the fiddles or knuckles that come up in the spring throughout the year can be sauteed and eaten, as well as the pith of the plant, which is kind of the center of the plant there. Now this is true for majority of ferns. Once again, fiddles are commonly eaten similar to like a veg, sauteed and fried, that sort of thing here. And moving over from here, guys, you have your cordylines. Now these here, the fruit, the roots, as well as the pith, are also edible, but some of the leaves can be toxic on these here. Again, certainly worth doing the research before eating anything from your garden on that one. Alright, so just coming off the back of the garden here, as we come down, the bamboos that you see in front of you here, these are also edible plants. Now typically it would be the new shoots that would be cooked and prepared. Now there is some toxicity in the plant if it is not prepared correctly, so once again, ensuring that you do your research before attempting to eat anything from your garden. Just as we come around from the back here, guys, now we also have our butia, jelly palm or pindo palm. Now with this one, slightly different. The plant itself is not actually edible, but it does produce edible fruits that can be used for things like jellies, marmalades, jams, that type of thing. Now there are other types of palm trees which are edible, and you'd be able to eat the heart of the palm, which I'll just put a picture on screen here now. And this is only for particular palms, so just to bear that in mind, that not every palm heart is necessarily edible. Just coming out the back here, guys, we've got our Tetrapanax papyrifera. Now again, with these do have edible parts to the plant. Typically things like the stalks. There have been known cases of these being edible on that side as well. Now one that we did have here, guys, but is now kind of gone for this summer, would be your colocasia, which I'll just put a picture up on screen here. So colocasia esculenta, taro, or edos. Now these are typically essentially the root would be used for different types of foods and dishes. Again, it does depend somewhat on variety, but for the most part, your colocasia plants will be edible. Another one alongside that, guys, which again is not out at the moment here, but is edible, is your persicaria. Now, the persicaria plant, again, there's a few different varieties that are edible, which I'll put up on screen here. But again, interesting to know that even things like your persicaria do have some culinary usage as well, and that's our sort of dead patch there, just in front of our molasses-like bananas. Thinking about the banana side, guys, now of course there are edible varieties of bananas that we can grow. Typically the molasses-like variety that we do find here in the UK more commonly is not really edible. I mean, some say that you can eat the fruits, but again, they're supposed to be sort of rife with seeds and really not something you'd want to consume. But to bear that in mind, there are edible varieties of banana that can be grown, and of course the fruits would be edible in that case. So another one here that can be eaten is your canna lilies. Now with these, the leaves, shoots, roots, and seeds are all edible. Again, it does depend somewhat on variety here, but another one that we do commonly grow that is an edible plant. We also have, guys, things like your agave. Those are also edible as well, again, including things like the flower stalks and whatnot. There are a couple other varieties which I do not have in the garden here, such as your Gunnera tinctoria, which again does have some uses in the culinary world. And finally, from that, guys, you have your things like your Opuntia cactus or prickly pear. These are also edible in use as staple foods in other parts of the world here. But just with that said, guys, of course, if you have found this information interesting, or are there any other plants that you may grow that are edible that I've not listed here, certainly feel free to drop a comment. Let us know what you think of the information. Of course, it's more for entertainment purposes, guys. But if you have enjoyed it, of course, smash that like button. We'll be putting out more content soon. And with that said, we'll see you on the next one.